What would you do if someone kept trampling your life's work, day after day, without a shred of remorse? That's the question I faced every morning for months, staring out my kitchen window at the glint of Karen's silver SUV, parked carelessly on my wildflower field. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and this farm 60 acres of rolling green in southern Iowa was my father's legacy, my sanctuary, and my fight. Those wildflowers weren't just plants. They were Karen poppies, rare and delicate, their crimson petals swaying like a heartbeat under the sun. I'd spent years cultivating them, coaxing life from soil that hadn't bloomed in decades. They were my promise to Dad, who died believing this land could still sing. But Karen, she saw my field as her personal parking lot. It started innocently enough. Last spring, a shiny SUV rolled up the dirt path to my farm. Karen Harper, a city transplant who'd bought the old Miller place down the road, stepped out in designer boots, her phone glued to her ear. She'd parked right on the edge of my field, flattening a patch of poppies. I waved her down, polite as could be. "Ma'am, this is private land. Mind moving your car?" She laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound, and said, "It's just grass, farmer. Relax." That was the first cut. By summer, her SUV was a daily fixture. She'd park to take calls, scroll her phone, or God help me host picnics with her city friends, their laughter ringing as they crushed my flowers. Each time I'd ask her to move. Each time, she'd roll her eyes, toss her hair, and say, "I'm not hurting anything." The neighbors warned me. Karen was trouble, a woman who thrived on getting her way. But I'm no pushover. I'd fought storms, droughts, and bankers to keep this farm alive. I wasn't about to let some entitled newcomer ruin it. I tried reasoning. I put up signs, private property, no parking. She tore them down. I built a fence. She drove around it. I called the sheriff, but Karen's charm and a few well-placed complaints about hostile farmers tied his hands. My blood boiled every time I saw those tire tracks, each one a scar on my land, my father's memory. The poppies were dying, their roots choked under her wheels. I'd lie awake at night, fists clenched, imagining ways to make her stop. That's when the idea hit me, a lesson she'd never forget. It was late August, the air thick with heat and the buzz of cicadas. Karen's SUV was parked, as usual, smack in the middle of my field. I'd had enough. My old John Deere tractor, a beast of steel and grit, sat in the barn, waiting. I climbed in, the engine roaring to life like a war cry. I didn't plan to hurt her just to make a point. I drove toward her car, slow and deliberate, the ground trembling beneath me. Karen was lounging against her hood, oblivious, scrolling her phone. When she heard the rumble, her head snapped up. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw fear in her face. "Move your car, Karen," I shouted over the engine. She didn't budge, just crossed her arms and yelled, "You wouldn't dare." "Oh, but I would." I inched the tractor closer, its massive tires dwarfing her SUV. The poppies crunched under my wheels now, a necessary sacrifice. Her confidence faltered as I revved the engine, the tractor's shadow swallowing her car. "Last chance," I warned. She screamed, "You're insane!" but finally scrambled into her SUV and peeled out, spraying dirt and petals. I thought that'd be the end of it. I'd won, right? She'd never park here again. But Karen wasn't the type to slink away. The next morning, her SUV was back parked defiantly in the same spot. This time, she'd brought company. A tow truck and a smirking lawyer in a cheap suit. "You threatened me," she cried, tears on cue for the sheriff, who'd shown up with a notepad and a frown. "He tried to run me over." The lawyer slapped a restraining order on me, claiming I'd endangered her life. The tow truck driver hooked up my tractor, saying it was evidence. My neighbors watched from their porches, silent. I stood there, helpless, as my machinimy father's machine was hauled away. The town turned on me. Whispers followed me at the feed store. "Ethan's lost it. Poor Karen. Scared for her life." She played the victim like a pro, posting on social media about the unhinged farmer terrorizing her. My phone buzzed with notifications, her followers calling me a bully, a monster. I couldn't afford a lawyer to fight the restraining order, and the sheriff warned me to steer clear of her. But Karen didn't stop. Her SUV kept coming, each visit a middle finger to my face. She'd park, snap selfies with my dying poppies, and caption them, "Nature's parking lot." I was drowning. The farm was bleeding money, legal fees, lost crops, and now a fine for property damage, because Karen claimed her SUV got scratched in the chaos. I sold off equipment to pay it, each sale a knife to the gut. My father's voice echoed in my head. "This land is your fight, Ethan. Don't let it go." But I was losing. Karen wasn't just parking. She was waging war, and I was outgunned. Then came the festival. Every year, our town hosts the Harvest Fair, where farmers showcase their crops. My poppies were my pride, a rare strain that drew buyers from across the state. This year, I'd planned to debut a new hybrid I'd spent 3 years perfecting. The fair was my chance to save the farm, to prove I wasn't the villain Karen painted. I worked day and night, salvaging what poppies I could, praying for a miracle. The morning of the fair, I arrived early, my truck loaded with crates of vibrant blooms. The field was alive with coloreds, pinks, and golds under the morning sun. For a moment I felt hope. Then I saw it. Karen's SUV, parked dead center in my display area. She'd driven through the night, flattening half my stock. A handwritten note was taped to her windshield. "Try me, farmer." My vision blurred with rage. The crowd was gathering, eyes on me, waiting for my next move. I could hear their whispers. "He's gonna snap." I didn't snap. I walked to my truck, grabbed a shovel, and started digging a trench around her SUV. The crowd watched, silent, as I worked, sweat soaking my shirt. Karen showed up an hour later, all smiles, until she saw the trench. "What the hell are you doing?" she shrieked. I didn't look up. "Protecting my land," I said, my voice steady. The trench was shallow but wide. Her SUV wasn't going anywhere without a tow. She called the sheriff, but he just shrugged. "It's his property, ma'am." For once, the law was on my side. The fair went on. My poppies sold out by noon, buyers drawn to the story of the crazy farmer who fought back. Karen stormed off, her SUV stuck until she paid for a tow. I thought I'd won again, but victory tasted bitter. That night, I found my barn door ajar. Inside, my remaining poppy seeds, years of work, were scattered across the floor, soaked in motor oil. A note in Karen's handwriting read, "You'll regret this." I sank to my knees, the weight of it all crushing me. This wasn't just about flowers or land anymore. It was about pride, survival, and the cost of fighting someone who'd rather burn everything than lose. I'd humiliated Karen, but she'd hit back harder. The town was split, half saw me as a hero, half as a fool. My farm was hanging by a thread, and winter was coming. Weeks passed. Karen's SUV stopped appearing, but the damage was done. My fields were barren, my savings gone. I started hearing rumors. She was selling her place, moving back to the city. Part of me hoped it was true. Part of me wanted her to stay, to face what she'd done. Then, one freezing November morning, I found a package on my porch. Inside was a single Karen poppy, its petals wilted but alive, and a letter. Karen's handwriting, no mistaking it. "I'm leaving. You win. But we both lost something, didn't we?" I stood there, the flower in my hand, its fragile beauty a reminder of everything I'd fought for and everything I'd paid. She was gone, but the scars remained. My land was quiet, too quiet, and the poppies might never bloom again. I'd served her a lesson, tractor-sized, but the cost? It was more than I could bear. I held that wilted poppy, its petals drooping like a surrender flag, and felt the weight of Karen's words. "We both lost something, didn't we?" The Iowa wind howled outside, rattling the windows of my farmhouse, as if the land itself was grieving. I'd won the battle, hadn't I? Karen was leaving, her SUV no longer a blight on my fields. But the victory was hollow. My farm was a shadow of what it had been. My father's legacy trampled not just by her tires but by my own rage. The letter slipped from my hand, landing on the porch beside the flower. I didn't pick it up. Instead, I walked to the barn, where the ruins of my poppy seeds lay, a oily mess I hadn't had the heart to clean. This wasn't over, not yet. Winter settled in, hard and unforgiving. The fields, once alive with color, were now a patchwork of frozen dirt and snow. I worked odd jobs in town to keep the lights on, hauling grain or fixing fences for neighbors who still spoke to me. The others? They crossed the street when they saw me, their eyes saying what their words didn't. Ethan Caldwell, the man who'd gone too far. Karen's social media campaign had done its work. Even after she left, her posts lingered, painting me as the villain in a story I barely recognized. I stopped checking my phone. It hurt too much. But pain has a way of sharpening you. By January, I'd scraped together enough to buy new seeds, not the rare Karen poppies, but a hardier strain, something that could survive the next storm. I spent nights in the barn, planning, sketching out a new field layout. I'd rebuild, I told myself, for Dad. For me. The work kept me sane, kept the anger at bay, until the letter arrived. Came in a plain envelope, postmarked from Chicago. No return address, but I knew her handwriting. Inside was a single page, typed this time, not handwritten. Karen's words were sharp, stripped of her usual bravado. I'm not sorry for parking. You didn't own that land any more than I did, it's just dirt. But I'm sorry for the seeds. That was too far. I was angry. You know how that feels. No signature, just a check for $5,000 made out to me. I stared at it, my hands shaking. Was this her guilt? Her final jab? I tore the check in half and burned it in the sink, the flames licking the paper until it was ash. I didn't want her money. I wanted my farm back. Spring came slow, the ground thawing under a weak sun. I planted the new seeds, each one a small act of defiance. The town was quieter now, the gossip fading as new scandals took hold. A few neighbors stopped by, offering help or just coffee, their way of saying they'd picked a side. I welcomed them, but trust was hard. Karen's war had left me wary, seeing enemies where there might have been friends. Still, the work went on. The first green shoots broke through in April, fragile but stubborn. Like me. Then she came back. It was a Saturday, the air warm with the promise of summer. I was in the field, checking the sprouts, when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. My stomach dropped. I knew that sound. I stood, wiping dirt from my hands, and saw it. A new SUV, black this time, gleaming in the sunlight. Karen stepped out, alone, her city polish gone. She wore jeans, a plain jacket, her hair pulled back. No phone, no smirk. Just her, standing at the edge of my field, hands in her pockets. Ethan, she said, her voice steady but soft. Can we talk? I wanted to scream, to grab the shovel and start digging another trench. But something in her eyes stopped meant fear, not defiance, but exhaustion. I nodded, once, and she walked closer, stopping a few feet away. The field stretched between us, a silent witness to our war. I didn't expect you to cash the check, she said. But I had to try. I messed up, Ethan. I didn't think about what this place meant to you. I just saw open space, a place to park. I was wrong. I clenched my jaw, the words I'd rehearsed for months stuck in my throat. You destroyed my life's work, I said finally, my voice low. You didn't just park. You took everything. She flinched but didn't look away. I know, and I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm here because I'm selling the Miller place for good. I wanted to see the field one last time, and to give you this. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small cloth bag, tied with string. Seeds, she said, holding it out. Karen poppies. I found a supplier in Oregon. They're not yours, but they're real. I stared at the bag, my chest tight. Why? I asked, the word rough. Why now? Because I'm tired of being the person who did this, she said. I saw your posts about the new field. You're fighting. I respect that. I wanted to do something right before I go. I didn't take the seeds. Not yet. Instead, I looked at her, really looked. The Karen who'd laughed in my face, who'd crushed my flowers without a thought, was gone. In her place was someone broken, not by me but by her own choices. I thought of the tractor, the trench, the burn check. My own anger had cost me 2 neighbors, pieces of myself I'd never get back. Keep the seeds, I said finally. Plant them somewhere. Not here. This field's mine. She nodded, tucking the bag back into her pocket. Fair enough, she said. For what it's worth, Ethan, I hope you win. I hope this place blooms again. She turned to leave, her boots crunching on the gravel. I watched her go, the SUV disappearing down the road, a cloud of dust in its wake. For the first time in a year, I felt the knot in my chest loosen. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something close. Relief, maybe, or hope. The summer was kind. The new poppies grew strong, their petals a softer red than the old ones but just as alive. Buyers came, not as many as before, but enough to keep the farm afloat. I rebuilt the barn, painted the house, started planning for next year. The town settled, the whispers fading. A few folks even apologized, admitting they'd been swayed by Karen's lies. I didn't hold it against them. People believe what's easy. But the story didn't end with Karen's departure. One evening, as I sat on the porch with a beer, watching the sun sink behind the fields, I got a call from the sheriff. Ethan, you need to see this, he said, his voice tight. I drove to the station, my gut churning. He led me to a computer and pulled up a video posted online that morning. It was Karen, sitting in her Chicago apartment, her voice calm but heavy. I'm telling the truth now, she said, looking into the camera. I lied about Ethan Caldwell. He didn't threaten me. He was protecting his farm. I parked on his land over and over because I thought I could take it. I was wrong. This video is my apology to him, to his town. I'm sorry. The video had millions of views. Comments poured in, some calling her brave, others calling her a fraud. My phone buzzed again, reporters. Old friends, even strangers who'd seen my poppies at the fair. They wanted my side, wanted to know if I'd forgive her, if I'd paid enough. I didn't respond. What could I say? The truth was I didn't know. I went home, the video replaying in my mind. Karen's apology didn't erase the scars, but it shifted something in the air. The town rallied, more neighbors stopping by, some bringing seeds or tools, others just stories of their own fights to keep something alive. The farm felt like mine again, not just a battleground but a home. The poppies bloomed brighter, as if they knew. But the story's end wasn't sweet. I'd left, but she'd come back, and her video had stirred old wounds. I'd fought for justice, but at what cost? My savings were gone, my trust in people fractured. The land was healing, but it would never be the same. And Karen? She'd lost her home, her pride, maybe more than I'd ever know. We'd both paid a price, both learned a lesson, but it was tractor-sized, all right, big enough to crush what we thought we were. I think about that poppy she sent, the one I'd held on the porch. It's pressed in a book now, a reminder of what I fought for and what I almost became. The farm's still here, still mine, and I'm still fighting. But the fight's quieter now, more about roots than rage. I don't know if I did right or wrong, only that I did what I had to. What do you think? Was justice served? Or did Ethan and Karen both lose more than they gained? Share your thoughts on right, wrong, or the messy truth of community conflicts. How far would you go to protect what's yours, and what's worth letting go?